Yep. Here we go. It's our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in New York, or so he says. Bruce Turner is in Lynchburg, Virginia. Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee. Michael Banks in Augusta, Georgia. And in Portland, Oregon, there's still a Portland, Oregon, Nate Swanner for our Android Week. So glad you folks could join us. We have a special guest tonight, Mr. Matthew Rappaport. He always gets on me if I don't pronounce the T because he pronounces the T.
Either way.
But whatever, you rip me a new one if I don't pronounce the T. He's just being polite because it's his first time on this exciting show. So,
okay, Peter's brother.
Oh, yeah, we want to do that, Matthew. We want to congratulate Peter G. McDermott, my good friend, who's gotten engaged. Good for him.
Congratulations.
Awesome. So good for him. And he wrote an excellent review of my sister's awesome book. Did I Say That Out Loud by Kelly McDermott Harmon.
And remember, marriages are made in heaven, but so is thunder and lightning.
Indeed.
I would be playing the sound effects, but I'm guessing that's not your kind of shit.
All right, so Matthew was asking me if I have, he said, do any of you guys actually have a Chromecast? Yeah, we have a Chromecast. Right there, baby. So it's, Nate,
How many do you have?
I don't know. I mean, how much time you got? I'd have to count them. No, I have one. But so Nate Swanner, you wrote a story about this. Apparently they're back in the Play Store. So what happened initially? It was kind of a runaway hit, right? And now they're back, and it's like a 2-day shipping thing, right? So it's pretty quick. You can get them.
Yeah, what happened initially was that like all Google products that go into the Play Store, the Google fans are like dogs chasing cars, and they just want them, but they have no idea what they're going to do with them. So they all buy 10 or 12, and then people can't get them. So it was out of stock for a while, and now it's back, and shockingly enough, it is still in the Play Store, so you can still buy it.
So that's cool. Now, who among you has a Chromecast, and what do you like, or what do you like that it does, and what do you wish it did that it might do that it doesn't yet?
I wish that it would. We would start to get that HBO Go functionality that we know is there. They're working on it. I wish they would kind of get off their ass and make that happen.
Yeah, I'd like to see a broader range of support for it. I mean, we know lots of people are interested. Lots of people have built in the support, but it's not fielded yet. I'd also like to see Netflix actually, make a working version of their viewer that works correctly on the Pixel.
It doesn't work?
It'll work, but it won't Chromecast on the Pixel. So you can't control the Chromecast from your Pixel for Netflix because Netflix.
Yeah, I'd like to see him bring back Aircast, a.k.a. Allcast. It would solve my problem that I was discussing pre-show. I'm going to bring my Chromecast to a convention center in Atlanta. And, of course, I can upload this video promo to YouTube and stream it that way, but I want to be able to loop it. But if I had the ability to cast it from my Dropbox account or, from an SD card on my Note 2 or something else like that, or an SD card on my Chromebook, it would be great. So I wish that would come back soon.
Do any of you actually have other options besides the Chromecast, like a Roku or an Apple or a smart Google TV? Something else as well?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I've got like my setup here. I've got a HP, a $99 HP computer. Just kidding. It's like a $1,000 one from Costco, and then I've got my 32-inch Vizio television. So my TV, which is right in front of me, which I'm using as a monitor, is hooked into the computer. So it's the extended desktop screen. So I can move a window over and watch, or I can use the built-in Vizio apps, or I can use Chromecast. And I find there are pros and cons with each. I tend to, frankly, just drag a window over because it's quick and convenient. And also because I was using it much more regularly until I loaned my housekeeper my Chromecast because she had kids over for a weekend or something. And but so I haven't plugged it back in. But prior to that, I mean, I was using it often, and it's cool. I mean, it's for $35. If I didn't have a smart TV, or if I had a TV that wasn't hooked into my computer, absolutely, the Chromecast would be the go-to device because it turns any television with an HDMI input into something that can watch Netflix or YouTube Live or YouTube stuff, right?
Well, it's interesting too because I have Roku and they took the YouTube channel off of Roku, so I thought that was interesting. And maybe that's because of the Chromecast. I don't know.
Bruce, you were going to say something.
Well, I mean, we had this in the chat from Rich Had. He says, "Is it true Nate couldn't be on last week because he had to get ready for the upcoming Miley Cyrus concert?"
Is that a question or a fact?
Nate, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
I don't know if I'm going to a Miley Cyrus or a Justin Bieber concert. I can't tell the difference between the two of them, and I'm not going to try anymore.
Unless they're twerking.
By the way, Dan, guess who ate at Neighbor's Restaurant in Lynchburg last Saturday night?
Who?
Britney Spears.
Really? What was she doing there?
I don't know, but
Crack.
she was here.
I assume it wasn't for a Liberty University concert.
I don't think so.
She wanted to meet
I'll
you
check
for
with
dinner.
Jerry Jr. because he's a friend of mine, and we'll find out if that was the reason. But I'm guessing that wasn't the cause for her. But anyway. Okay, so another thing that happened related to Chromecast is that my story's gone now. Oh yeah, YouTube starts testing Chromecast support for third-party websites. And I guess if you're on YouTube and you have a Chromecast installed and you have the Chrome app, right? You'll get that option. If you're watching YouTube video in Chrome, you can send it to your television. But if you were on a third-party website, then it may or may not have appeared. And apparently now they're testing to make that functionality work. Any thoughts on this, guys?
So by third-party website, you're talking about something like Vimeo. No,
I mean like
he's talking
BruceTurner.com. If you just embedded a YouTube video, that functionality wasn't there. Is that right, Alan?
I don't know. I never tried it. I had always assumed that it was there. I'm kind of surprised to hear that it wasn't, actually.
It wasn't there, and that was actually something that I was hoping it would get. I didn't want to talk about it earlier, obviously, because this was a topic. But yeah, it was kind of a pain when you go on a website, especially a mobile site, and you see videos, you play the video, and you can't Chromecast it. That was a bit annoying. Even when you made it large on your phone or tablet, you still couldn't Chromecast it. That was a bit annoying.
So you're talking about embedded YouTube videos on other people's sites, then?
Yeah, if you go on like a tech site and it's a YouTube
Okay.
video, like a review or something, you couldn't Chromecast that.
Yeah, this seems just like sort of an incremental, obvious thing. I guess.
What other limitations are there for Chromecast?
I mean, you got a minute? I mean,
That's
it works on Netflix. It doesn't work on Amazon Prime. It doesn't work on.
It doesn't
HBO
work on Netflix.
yet.
Were you listening to me?
what he was saying, yeah, that it works, just
It-
not well.
It works on Netflix if you're using the right machine.
The right device. What is
Yeah.
what is the optimal device to Chromecast Netflix off of?
Well, my Nexus 7 tablet works great with it, but
Not your phone.
Hey Dan, watch. I'm going to troll Alan. The Chromecast is a rare Google beta product.
Rare is in quotes.
Rare is
Or
very
is
good.
beta.
You know, Nate, that perfectly describes what should be done with other such rare products. You need to, put them in the oven and crank up the oven a little bit warmer to finish cooking it.
Do you believe that Chromecast is so cheap because it is so rare beta, and you're all beta testing it for them, or I'm crazy?
No, I don't think that's true because they will, I paid how much, we paid how much for these, Matthew?
Yeah, but that's a different. That's
Beta product.
that's different though.
How is it different?
It's a lot more expensive to make than a Chromecast. It's a lot. Does a
Yeah,
lot more
but
than
proportionally it's not. I mean, it's not what it's going to retail for.
right.
Next topic, Dan.
Okay. So Matthew's going to put his Chromecast in with his slow cooker sauce.
Yeah. Can't
I've
wait.
been raving about this sauce in my posts. Okay. So anyway,
Wait, no. You put the Chromecast in a crock pot.
do you put it underneath or on top of the veggies? Because
Because
that's
it's a
whole
crock.
thing. You know, you're
But you guys all love your Chromecast. Come on.
filling
Yeah,
in
like-
for Craig Ship tonight is the Reverend Bruce. Okay, so next up, this was an interesting. I've updated. I've taken some poetic license, I suppose, with Nate's original title, and so I've changed it to "It's not dishwasher safe, but the Sony Xperia Tablet Z Kitchen Edition gets you cooking for $649." So basically, it's a tablet with some preloaded stuff geared toward culinary type people. And Nate, of course, is not only a tech geek, but am I allowed to say this, Nate?
So when have you ever run anything you said by me?
Nate is
I
actually
would,
a
I would shoot down
graduate.
60% of what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, if that, on a good day. So Nate is actually a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, and is a trained chef, capable of being on the Food Network. I'd love to watch him totally fall apart on that freaking contest show, but anyway, so he's uniquely qualified to talk about the Sony Xperia Tablet Z Kitchen Edition. It seems to me it's pricey, and it's basically the only thing I get so far is that
Wait,
It's-
did you say it seems that it's pricey? No, Dan, it is pricey. There's no seems about it. $649.
yeah, what was this, like 250 or 300? But it's loaded. It's preloaded with some cooking apps, and you can wash it in the sink. So
And
there's
it comes
that.
with a probe. Is that what I'm seeing on
An
this?
iGrill thermometer.
I think
probe.
Bruce is tipsy. Are you tipsy, Bruce?
No.
I'm going to check with your wife. I'm going to have to get your digits and investigate. So, Nate, tell us about the Xperia Z Kitchen Edition. Is it worth it? And is it priced correctly? And what do you think about the waterproof thing? Is that going to be a new thing that is going to become standard? Like, we're going to expect that?
Well, in terms of being pricey, it's you actually, I think you end up saving like $10 versus if you bought the two separately. So if you're interested in both those devices, yeah, it's an appropriate price. I mean, I'm not going to say that the tablet itself is an appropriate price because that's pretty expensive for a tablet. But
Explain
it's
the
a really
other
nice
device,
tablet.
because I didn't. Nate, explain what you're talking about, the
Okay.
probe for
So
the thing.
The iGrill is basically it's a digital readout meat probe. Go ahead, laugh it up.
For those
so
not
basically,
know, that was Dan laughing.
if you've got a roast in the oven or you got something slow cooking on the grill, you just kind of shove that in there and let it tell you when it's done. The difference with the iGrill is it has an app that will basically alert you when your roast or whatever reaches the proper temperature. So the Tablet Z comes preloaded with the app for the iGrill thing, and so you can go put your thing in the oven, go do your thing on your tablet, and it'll tell you when it's ready. Or you can get the other stuff going, the side dishes and things like that. So that's what's great about that.
It seems
in terms
really
of-
gimmicky.
It's very gimmicky. It's a very niche market. The cool part is, again, it is waterproof. So when Dan, lathers himself in his slow cooker sauce,
Or
gets
he's
it all over
cooking
his
in the
tablet.
bathroom.
He will. It doesn't matter. He doesn't need to hear it. Yeah, he's probably lathering up right now.
So out of curiosity, are there a lot of gimmicky packages kind of like this, or this is one of the first?
Well, there's a very famous gimmicky package with the Note 3 and Galaxy Gear smartwatch. That's pretty gimmicky.
Yeah.
And it's no
but-
savings at all. It's the exact same price as if you bought them separately off contract. I mean,
Yeah, whatever. That's a whole nother.
So how good's the front-facing camera on this, and could you use it to record yourself doing a cooking show while you're reading the screen?
or
I don't know.
slathering
I haven't
cooking
had a
sauce.
hands-on with it. Yeah, did you? How's that barbecue sauce? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really tried it out.
I don't think you can really do a great.
adequate, but
I don't think you do a really great any show on it through a tablet. That's
yeah,
my
I wouldn't
opinion.
rely on it for a show. But
Yeah.
it's a good tablet. It's a fair price for what it is. The waterproof thing is pretty huge. So
Okay, so we're all excited, and we're buying one of these soon. I
I'm
think,
buying 3.
at least.
Welcome to my kitchen.
Okay, so this is all just a secret preview to Nate's upcoming cooking culinary podcast.
Nate and the Tablet Z.
Well, I believe cooking shows are probably the most popular form of like HOA. I could be wrong, but they might be.
I think they're easy and cheap to produce, and they're not
to buy the-
time perishable
buy the food.
content like our show's time perishable, right? I mean, nobody's going to watch the new. Nobody watches NBC News from 2 weeks ago. The next day, it's outdated. So that kind of content's great.
Are you comparing us to NBC News?
Not in any way, shape, or form. No.
He's cooking, slow cooking.
Okay, so next up, Sprint Preps. This is I want to get Nate's take on this because he initially covered the T-Mobile. That was the first company to get into this frequent upgrade program, and then of course all the other carriers followed. Sprint has just entered into it, according to reports. I guess September 20th they're going to launch their One Up program, and I just wanted to get Nate's take on this. If you think that this is something that is a competitor, because I know you praised T-Mobile, their initial plan, and then you said AT&T was not a fantastic option. I'm not sure what you've said, if anything, about the Verizon alternative, but what do you think about Sprint's alternative?
Well, the T-Mobile plan is the fairest of the four. Now that we have all four carriers on board, it's the most fair. You can upgrade and not really be, for lack of a better term, tied down or have a huge end cost if you decide to upgrade or whatever. With the other three now, you'll have a huge cost at the end of this. That being said, I think all of them are a form of a scam. Sprint, you can upgrade after a year. It's kind of an also ran program if you ask me, but I also think Sprint's kind of an also ran carrier. The real telling part to me was that the linked article that was CNET. It's a pretty big tech website, and a Sprint representative declined to comment. They don't even want to talk about it. That's kind of telling for me.
Yeah, I think it's legit. It looks pretty real, but you never know until it shows up. And
No, I mean it's real. The fact, but they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to, say how great it is or discuss it at all. I mean, it's obviously a legit thing, but they don't want to talk about it. So they're basically, I think that they saw the scrutiny that AT&T and Verizon went through, and I don't think they want any part of it because it's on par with all of the rest of them. T-Mobile just happens to be the most fair of the four.
Now, Matthew, in the past, we've all been, those of us, Nate gets his stuff and then gets a T-Mobile plan with no, term commitment, right? And
Yeah.
he saves a fortune. He's lucky to be in a place where geographically T-Mobile has good signal. I am not blessed that way, unfortunately, or I would totally consider switching. But
Wait, Bill Hader didn't convince you?
who?
The Bill Hader commercials?
The what?
Never mind. Bill Hader's been doing T-Mobile ads.
I missed it. But
Okay.
maybe I'm not
Never
totally in the loop. I'm not as cool as you think I am. So anyway, here's my
That's
question.
why you're doing a show.
Right. What an awesome dig. Okay, so here's my question for you. Most folks get their phone for free or $99 or $200, whatever, and then sign up for a 2-year plan, and you just sort of adapt to that, just like a car. I mean, you don't upgrade your car every year unless you're leasing, and even then, it's usually 2 years. Are we seeing more pressure now, or because phones are coming out so quickly that are so cool and have new features, that the advancement is so rapid that there is a big push, and that most people are going to really want to be able to upgrade more often? I mean, do you think that that's the case, or is that overblown?
I think it depends on the user. It depends on how. I mean, it's a case-by-case basis. Overall, I think a lot of people like the idea of having the newest and latest phone, but there are still middle America still using their old flip phones. There's still plenty of people that don't have smartphones. So I don't really know. Maybe it's the coast. Maybe it's like the people on the coasts, and the east and the west coast. They're the ones that want the upgrades, and the ones in the middle of the country are like, I'm not to limit your audience and have the Midwest hate me, but maybe it's really just a geographical thing about whether they upgrade or not. I want to upgrade, and it also depends on memory too, right? It depends on it. as they release new software, I believe it slows down the old phones. So as you upgrade to new software, your phone becomes slower and slower, and then you want to. It's kind of a way to force you to upgrade, I think.
What do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, I agree. I think they're all scams. T-Mobile may be, as Nate said, the most fair one. But I've got the Note 2, the Note 3's coming out. Do I want to? No, I don't need to go one up to get the Note 3. I'm happy with the phone that I've got. And I think it's just a way to get get more money. I think it focuses on people's discontent, always wanting the latest thing. And you don't have to have the latest thing. I mean, good night. You got a quad-core processor in your Note 2. Do you really need, something more? Do you need another 1 or 2 megapixels on your camera? A better flash? So,
well, okay,
wait.
this gets to the other issue. And Alan, let me go to you on this. Are we just at a point of, if not stagnant, incremental change in phones, whereas maybe like a couple years ago when ICS came out, it was a dramatic difference, or when the iPhone 4S came out, it was a dramatic difference. Is it just because nothing incredibly sexy's come out in terms of hardware, and so we're not really motivated, and it's like meh? But if something really killer came out, like the Note 3, the 4K video is really amazing, and some other things like that. But in general, it's all incremental things, so it's like, we're not really impressed. Or how do you read this?
I find your choice of 4K video as an example of something that's impressive to be
As somebody who uses their
shockingly
phone
bad.
No, I mean, I think as
Scary.
someone who uses their phone to capture video and post it on websites, or use it for the newspaper website, if we had 4K video, I think that would be very attractive.
No, it wouldn't, because all of the people who are watching it are going to complain about the fact that it takes 2 years to download.
Hey, let me give you another example. I saw a story, true story. This just came to my mind while we're talking about this. I saw a story. I'm looking at it right now. It's a YouTube video, so I'm not going to play it. But it was on the De Laval VMS voluntary milking system for cows. Now, normally you herd the cows into the barn and you hook up these things and you get the milk. Well, now they got this new machine where a cow says, you know what, I think I want to give some milk. And he goes in there and it's all automatic, They're just trying to suck more milk out of us with these scams.
Ouch. I got nipples, Greg. Can you milk?
Are you trolling us, or is that serious? There's a voluntary milking system.
You Google voluntary milking system, and you'll see a story on the De Laval VMS voluntary milking. There's a YouTube video. You can watch it.
Welcome to our Milking System Week.
That's right.
Premier show discussing milking systems, voluntary and otherwise.
So
Gary,
are there?
what
Here's
the
your
hell?
host, Dan McDermott.
But there are people out there that will get every new phone as it comes out, even if they don't need it, right? Or there has to be a percentage of people out there that do that, right?
Some, but Bruce, what the
I
hell
think
kind
a
of
lot of those people
websites?
buy them outright, though.
What the hell kind of websites are you hanging out on, Bruce? I'm nervous. I'm worried about
Well,
you
look,
now.
I think I saw it on somebody's Google Plus feed. It's just it was interesting.
Yeah, that's how.
Did you call it a feed?
Never invite me to your chat rooms, Bruce.
But it's a good illustration because that's what the carriers are doing. They're playing on our desires and our discontent, and so we'll just milk ourselves.
Well, he's got a point to that. He's got a point there, Dan. He really does have a point, because let's just take the Sprint thing, which is the topic of this. I pay for it incrementally every month, and then let's say after the year, the cost of the phone $650, which is what the example CNET used. That's spread over 2 years. After a year, you're eligible to upgrade. But when you decide you want to one up, you're on the hook for the rest of the amount for that phone. So now Sprint, after a year, I have paid them $300 and whatever dollars, and I'm going to pay them the rest to pay off the phone from them, and then I'm going to upgrade to a new phone and start this process all over again. How is that helping me? How is that helping me as a consumer, as a Sprint customer? I'm already overpaying for their service, and now I have to pay them a ton of money for this phone that what I'm basically saying is, I don't really want this phone. I want another phone. Could I sell the phone? Sure, but that's kind of a hassle on my end. It doesn't really solve our needs as consumers. If you want to upgrade, you should be able to just turn the phone and say, I don't really want this anymore.
I know this is an Android show, but not to switch. But the Apple will give you money for your old phones. Am I right about that?
Walmart will give you money for your old Android phone. I mean, that's just
Yeah, but you're not
Best Buy will do
buying
it too.
you
but you have
buying
to
your
sign
new
up for
phone at
service.
Walmart.
Yeah, they'll even you can trade in your iPad and get a Surface with this new program they've got. Did
I
you see that?
I'm impressed with Best Buy's deal where their insurance is like $3 a month cheaper, and the guy said that my screen cracked. It's $200 deductible with the Assurant plan, which sucks, and I think it's free or $100. I think it's free. You just go in and they'll swap the phone out and transfer all your stuff for you. So
Well, it's like tablets
gonna-
too. Like, do you get? I have the original Nexus 7. The new Nexus 7 just came out. Do I want to say, all right, I'm going to stop using this and then go buy the new one? I mean, it's like the same. I know there's no plan for it, but as far as upgrading technology,
no, I mean the Nexus
Well, that,
7
that's
is,
and that's
yeah.
that's a good point, Michael. Is you're happy with your Nexus 7, correct?
yeah.
So you really see no point in upgrading. You're kind of
I
like
mean-
me. I have the original Nexus 7. I went and picked up the second Nexus 7 just to see. I
Was it
liked
worth
it.
it?
It's a great little tablet, but I returned it because it just wasn't that big a deal to me. It's got a lot of cool functions, faster, all this and that, but it wasn't remarkably better to where I was lamenting having the original Nexus.
Right. Everything you could do on the original Nexus 7, you could do on the new one. It just besides the speed. But
Right.
I use mine on Wi-Fi, so and at home, so it does everything it needed to do.
Exactly. I'm
Your
the same
Nexus
way.
7 came out with I don't know, something mind blowing.
Yeah,
Right.
if the new one had 4 gigs of RAM and was just mind-blowingly fast and had a
And the
excellent
Hangouts
camera
were amazing. You know,
right, and I could film those cooking shows that Bruce and Dan want.
Right,
and
and
I
you
would
film
do.
cooking shows. I tried using the Nexus 7 in Vegas to do on air, and it was scary. So
Terrible.
Okay, so since you mentioned Matthew, you mentioned Apple, our favorite topic. Did you put this in your Apple leading over Android and mobile shopping?
now, it's funny. I Googled Android news, and this is one of the first stories that came up. Not looking for anything Apple.
So
And it
tell us about this Bloomberg story.
This Bloomberg story basically says that according to Thrillist, they are seeing their Apple app, or their iPhone app, I should say, do, as far as shopping goes, do a lot better than their Android shopping app, and they're spending more money making their iPhone apps better, sexier, and they're saying they're making more money from their iPhone apps than they are from the Android apps, and they're going to continue to, and it's cheaper, I think, to make iPhone apps. They're saying that's basically the story. I mean, did I explain that right? Basically, they're saying more people are shopping through iPhone apps than they are through Android apps as a whole, even though Google has taken a share of the market.
For that one store, is what they're saying.
Is it just for the one store, or okay?
Well, that's a
store.
That's a Thrillist demographic, but we hear that a lot, that
Yeah.
Apple users spend more time on their iDevices on the internet shopping and things like that. I think right after Christmas, I forget who now, but they did like an independent study and polled like a bunch of different retailers, and they were all saying, yeah, we get most mobile traffic comes from iDevices. So these people on iDevices are spending a lot more time shopping via those devices. And if I were a developer, obviously I love Android, but I'm going to chase the money.
Right.
So if I'm Thrillist and
Does that say something about the person using the iPhone over the Android, or what do you think? Why is it? Why do you just more devices out there, or what?
I don't really know. I can't really speak to that. I don't know if.
Do you guys
I'd
shop?
like-
Do you shop on your phones?
I really, what I do with my phone, like if I'm at Best Buy, I'll do an Amazon price check. But I don't really shop mobily. I mean, if I do any kind of e-commerce, it's on my desktop. So I can't really speak to why. My guess is it has a lot to do with the proliferation of apps that are available for iPhone versus Android. I mean,
I would also guess the iPad is the reason. A lot of people probably shop on their iPads. Is my guess.
I would think so.
I'm on the same page with Nate. I bought I bought this new mixing board I'm using tonight for audio because the Google Plus week was scratchy and I've been battling this. So I bought a new mixing board. And I would not have considered buying that on my phone because the desktop experience is still more fully featured. Things like buy with one click. Exactly what card are you using? Where's it going? You want every possible, when you're making a purchase, you want every possible bit of information you can have. And I would be nervous. But then at the same time, I bought a cable and I did it with one click and I did it from my phone. But typically I would feel more safe and more comfortable going home and taking my time, right? Because you don't want the hassle of returning something or that sort of thing. Even dealing with a partner that you, or a purchaser or a company that you're used to dealing with, like Amazon, that you trust, you still, I feel safer seeing all the red tape and all the information on the desktop as opposed to a limited, because of geography, because of the screen size, the mobile version.
Yeah, I'll buy books and music with my mobile app. But if I'm buying a piece of hardware, I like to do it on the desktop where I can zoom in, look at all the pictures, makes it easier to read all the reviews, because that's something you want to do. So.
Yeah, mobile's convenient, but there are trade-offs. Go ahead, Matt.
What about this idea that because of that, Thrillist is saying it, I don't know how many other companies are doing it, but the idea that they're developing and spending more money on iOS apps than they are Android apps, is that, as Android consumers, bother you, like annoy you, or to hear that?
Well, I think that's a catch-22 because you're saying, does it bother us? If I look at it from their perspective, why would I care about what I think as an Android user if I'm not using that app to shop anyway? So it's kind of a weird juxtaposition where
no. The other argument though to that, Nate, is why in the world would I use an app that they obviously don't care about? They're producing a shitty app. Why in the world would I use a shitty app?
Well, that's what I was just going to say, Alan. It's it's a total catch-22. They don't want to make something nice that we're not really using anyway, but then we're not using it maybe because it's not really pretty and intuitive. It's a weird.
Is it? I'm obviously not a developer. Is it harder or cost more money to develop for Android than it does for iOS, or it's about?
If you're an iOS developer, it costs more money to develop for Android. If you're an Android developer, it costs more money to develop for iOS.
But what if you develop for both?
Nobody develops for both. You get two different developers to do it.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Well,
Let's
they
go
port
to this.
apps, though, don't they, Alan?
No, you don't really. Nobody really ports an app. What some people will do is they will create HTML5 apps that get bundled into each package, and try to do that. And I do that a lot. But it creates an app that is neither an iOS app nor an Android app.
Yeah, since we're talking about shopping really wasn't a big consideration in my choice for a phone. I chose the Note 2 because of the screen size and many other things. So it doesn't bother me that people may be making more mobile purchases on an Apple phone. It's irrelevant to me.
Right. But I would say now more than ever, there are people that they rely on their mobile to do everything. There are people that I see all the time, like with Google Plus, they actually say their whole Google Plus experience is mobile. They don't use desktop. And that blows my mind, So I wonder how many people are not using computers and desktops and laptops, but they're using their phone as their computer.
Okay, Matthew, let me ask you a question. You have what version of iPhone do you have?
I have a 4. I'm going to get the 5S because it's slow as hell right now, the 4.
Okay, and you have an Nexus 7.
I have an Nexus 7 tablet, the original one.
Okay, real quick, what do you like and dislike about each? Like if you're going to use an app for some specific purpose, obviously the Nexus 7 is a bigger screen size, but the iPhone is portable, right? You can't use your Nexus 7 in the car.
Yeah, I can. And I wanted to actually, when I went to buy the Nexus 7, I wanted to buy one that had the... That's the other thing that bothers me, too, about Google products, is it's harder to find... You go into an Apple store, you can usually get the product that's sold out. But when I went to get the Nexus 7, I wanted the most recent one, but it was only available on Google Play, and I needed it. But I couldn't... It said 2 weeks or whatever. So that was the other thing, too, is that I don't think Google gives enough options, like you're talking about with Chromecast. How Chromecast was sold out, and people had to wait.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah, but Matthew, hang on a second. You live in New York. There are how many Apple stores within a stone's throw of you right now?
I don't know, 2 maybe?
There are how many Apple stores in Manhattan?
2, right?
No, it's more like 5.
5, okay, 5 now. Well, there's an Express,
and that's just in Manhattan.
Right, no, I know. I don't, obviously my situation is not the same as a normal person.
But like if you're going to, I mean, I'm curious about your general take
well, the
on
Nexus,
iOS
the Nexus 7,
versus Android. you know,
Android,
'cause
the
you
Nexus
like
7.
both.
I like Nexus 7 for the Google products. I mean, I like that I like Chrome on Nexus 7. I don't like using Chrome on Apple because maybe I've got to use Safari. I have it, but I don't like opening it. So I like using Chrome better than I like Safari. But on the mobile device, besides the tabs, it's not so great. I just don't like the iPhone with Safari. You have to literally open a new page, and I like moving the tabs around on the Nexus 7. I like Google Plus experience on the Nexus 7. It's faster. But I have the iPhone 4. If I had the iPhone 5S, Google Plus might be almost as fast as it is on the Nexus 7. I can use the Gmail app on the Nexus 7. I'm used to the Mail app on the iPhone. The Gmail app on the 4 is slow as hell for me. So Google apps on the iPhone 4 are slow, except even Maps, which I love and I use on the iPhone 4, just really slow. My phone is bogged down with memory, pictures, videos, even though I've deleted stuff. Whereas my Nexus 7 is free, and I can do more stuff faster as Dan falls asleep during this.
I'm exhausted. But anyway,
because you had a fun night last night, which we won't talk about.
which we're not going to talk about. Okay, so
No, we're not.
okay, so
Yeah.
Google. Bruce, did you want to add to this?
Add to the Apple Store? No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I've had my say.
I will say though, with the Nexus 7, for instance, so there's so many freaking screens that I wish that if I wasn't using the screen, maybe I can do this and I'm stupid, but the screen would just disappear. I don't need it. Can you do that? See, why is there a screen there? I don't need it. Why is it there?
Craig Shipp, who's a panelist on Google Plus Week and is a big iOS fanboy, in the same way that we're Android fanboys. He says Android is, you're in for world of hurt. It's complicated.
No, we're not,
breaks.
because we're Android fanboys and we talk about the problems with Android. Craig Shipp is an Apple fanboy in the sense that he refuses to acknowledge that there is a single flaw
Well, he doesn't
in,
think
an
there
Apple,
are
in any Apple product anywhere, ever.
Right. So,
Which
I mean,
is
do you
what?
find that Apple is just generally better and more intuitive, and Android is?
I think both.
The opposite of those
I'm
things?
someone who thinks both products are good, and I think that they both have their strengths and weaknesses. And I'm not like, oh my God, Android's so much better, or oh my God, Apple's so much better. They both do things that are good, and Google makes better apps for sure, and they make better products. Apple, really, their apps suck, and they don't really make. I mean, Google, their app. They even said their maps were terrible. They admitted that their apps suck. When Google makes something that sucks, it
I
never
think they
admits that it sucks.
apologized to the consumers
Right.
and fired the
So-
guy in charge. Yeah.
Right. So Apple realizes when stuff sucks. Google Reader didn't suck. Why are they? Not to get into it on the topic, but I'm saying when Google makes things that suck, they don't say, "Hey, yeah, that kind of sucked." It just kind of goes away, right? I mean, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm just an observation. So.
Okay. So we
that's
all
all I'm
agree.
saying.
All right. So next up, I'm not sure. Was this you, Matthew, or who? Google Maps
No,
7.2
No,
update.
I put this in here.
Bruce, go ahead and lead on
We've
this,
had
please.
we've had some discussions about Google Maps before, and the original Google Maps I thought was good. I liked it, and then Google decided they were going to clean it up and make it lighter and easier to look at or whatever. And many people, most people I know, didn't like it, the changes. Well, now they're beginning to tweak, and so we went from 7.1 to 7.2, and I had to take my wife to see a naturopath over in Madison Heights. You're familiar with where that's at. And I said, okay, I've got the new Google Maps. Let me check it out. And you know what? I liked it. It's better. I think there's still some things they can do with it, but I like the kind of the Google Now style route preview that you can get, where you can just flick it up and you can see a route preview, and then you can flick it back down. I like the one-tap start navigation. You maybe want to discuss this about, it knows where you are, obviously, and will give you hotel rates, aka hotel ads if you're going somewhere, and so pushing out maybe an opportunity to save some money.
Scroogled.
Scroogle, right? And then the hours of operation are displayed more prominently. And a lot of times when I'm looking for something, that's one of the things I'm wanting to find out. Like, for instance, somebody posted in the chat I've been looking for a way to feed this into the show. Somebody was mentioned in the chat about they hadn't had a Kit Kat bar in a long time, and they've eaten 10 or a bunch of them recently. But I was in Joann Fabrics. Please don't make anything more of this. But I went there to buy.
Oh God!
went
Hold
there-
Nate back. Hold Nate back.
I went there to buy blue felt for some chroma keying work that I wanted to do.
Is this for your
And
Elvis gig?
It was
I don't know if we're
50%
allowed to
off.
announce that your Elvis gig yet.
Okay, it was
Oh.
50% off. So, you know, when you're going around and you get close to the checkout, they have all this stuff, you know, candy bars and drinks, you know, because they're trying to upsell you on this stuff while you're waiting in line. And there were Kit Kat bars, and I bought one and ate it on the way home. But I like the new improved Google Maps, and I hope it gets better. Alan has some thoughts about Google Maps. He got really animated earlier in the pre-show. Don't know if he wants to
Let me do a
comment
quick
on that or
aside
not.
to
I'm
Nate.
always,
Before Alan, Nate,
cool.
when you're at a fabric store, do you typically get a Kit Kat bar, or is this? Nate?
As I'm skipping through and giggling, yeah, I do.
When was the last time you were in a fabric store? Oh yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
It was the only time I've ever been in a fabric store.
Oh,
I don't
whatever,
even know that's what they
whatever.
were called.
Whatever. Admit it. You're a fabric buff.
Nope.
All right.
The
So
fabric of
Alan,
our
I
lives.
apologize. I interrupted your whatever you were going to say.
Well, and the ratings now have names. I hated it, disliked it, it's okay, liked it, loved it. You know, so it's better. Don't you think it's a little bit better, Alan?
I'm sure that it's better. It's not like it could get worse. Oh wait, yes it could. This is Google. What do you want me to
Says
say?
the man with the glass attached to his head.
What do you want me to say? I mean, you know, yes, it's great that they're finally making Navigate almost useful. Maybe it'll actually work and give you accurate information. Who knows? I can't wait to find out. Because I'll be honest, right now it sucks.
So when you guys
Let
are
me put it this. Let me put it this way, okay? You know how you could say if you want to, if you're having trouble using something, give it to a 5-year-old, and they'll have no problem using it. You know, they're the experts at technology. I gave Google Maps to a 5-year-old. He gave it back to me 5 minutes later, saying he never wanted to see the stupid program again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've got a problem here. And
wait,
it's
wait, you
big
got a
problem.
5-year-old to say that complete sentence?
Yes,
Wow, I'm impressed. Is he a Furstenberg?
yes.
That makes sense.
Did he scream it? Then you know he's a
Did he
first
scream
member.
it? He goes,
No,
So-
you-
so-
I never want to see that stupid thing again.
So
Did he
would a
raise his hand at you when he
5-year-old
Get it back.
You know,
5-year-old
he was pretty upset. This is a kid who has been using Google Maps for 2 years now.
Since he's 3?
Yeah. And he no longer wants to use Google Maps because they fucked it up.
Did
Is
he
he
say
a
fuck?
laser
Did
now?
he say the F word too?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, just an aside, Nate. The Furstenberg family is the only family to actually buy the extended warranty for all of the toys for their children because
How-
they're gonna-
I want you to show him ways, and I want to know what his response
When
is.
could the
to
5-year-old be on this show? Has the 5-year-old been on this show?
Not on this one. He's been on Google Plus this week.
Oh, okay.
he's adorable. He's cute as can
He's
be.
Bruce. He's
Obviously,
not.
takes after mom.
He's not that interested in the navigation part itself. Although he actually doesn't like either. He probably wouldn't like Waze because he likes GPS devices that tell you what road you're currently on.
And that's what I was going to ask. In the car, do you guys use your Google Maps more navigation, or do you use like a typical normal?
You know what?
device?
Here's the thing. I used to use Google Maps. I don't anymore. You want to know why? Because it sucks up all the freaking CPU and it overheats my phone. Whereas the old one didn't.
So you
What
have, like,
is
a
it about
Garmin?
this pile of crap that it does worse and uses more CPU to do it?
But it's pretty.
I haven't used my TomTom since I got the
Google Maps does take a lot of energy to use and load and.
And you know, if it was actually doing something useful and it was doing something correctly, then maybe it would be worth it. But it
Now,
doesn't, and it
Tom,
isn't,
the-
and it does it worse than the old device.
What about the Google Maps on your glass? Does that suck too?
I don't use it.
Because it sucks.
Not that it sucks, but it does use up an awful lot of power.
Oh, okay.
The one thing that Google Maps
It
has
sucks
over
the power out.
Waze is that you can you can search for something via
Oh,
audio while you're driving.
Great
Whereas
example,
Waze,
Dan.
you have to pull
Oh no,
over.
Dan,
Oh,
that's such an awesome example. Here's what I'll do. I will go to the Google Voice commands and tell
Okay.
it to search for a local frozen yogurt store. Okay, and Google Voice Commands gives me a list of 3
I just
local-
gotta have a fucking frozen yogurt.
Yes. And Google Voice Commands gives me a list of 3 local frozen yogurts place. And I
Okay.
click on one and it says, complete this using Google Maps. And I'm like, yes, that's a great idea. Let's complete this using Google Maps. You click on that and it goes to freaking nowhere. It tells me the nearest frozen yogurt place is now 60 miles away.
I hope Craig Ship is not watching this because he's gonna
He'll
troll
be
us.
laughing.
You know what? Here's the absolute stupidest thing on the planet.
Urgh.
Not Craig Ship.
Google smacked Apple down with Google Maps.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then just to prove just how stupid they could be, Google then releases a version of Google Maps that competes on the stupidity scale with Apple Maps.
Touche.
So
Maps
buy an
backwards is
iPhone
spam.
5.
What?
I'm
So
gonna
yeah,
light a
if
candle or
7.2
something.
is an improvement, that's wonderful to see because, good
Do we
lord,
need
it needed
Do
it.
we need hotel ads though? Is that helpful?
Well, that's kind of what I was going to touch on. Is Google's an e-commerce company. They make all their a bulk of their money off of ad revenue and things like that. So the hotel ads, are you ready for that? Are you ready to search for a hotel and have ads pop up ahead of everything else? I think that's a little heavy-handed, but that's.
I mean, is Google Maps worth using for anything besides directions? And according to Alan, it's not even worth using for that.
Well, I use it for directions, but I'm with Alan in the respect that the last, before they had this major update, before 7.0 or whatever it was, it was fine. I mean, it could have obviously used a facelift, and I liked what they did in terms of aesthetics, but the functionality just changed so drastically,
Right.
and it's so negative now. I mean, Alan's got a point. I've done that too. I search for things, and there was a point the other day where I searched for something, and for whatever reason backed out of Maps and got back in there and searched for the exact same thing again, and it couldn't find it. It was like I was, asking to walking directions to China or something. It was just I had completely baffled Maps and asked it the same question twice.
So it's not like I guess it's like, is it change for change's sake isn't good, or is it we just haven't figured out the learning curve yet, or it's a shitty upgrade?
I'm a little confused, honestly. I don't really understand this on a deeper level, but I don't know how you improve the aesthetics but somehow compromise the functionality. I don't really understand that about Maps.
Would you guys prefer it be less pretty and faster, using less energy, giving you the directions you need, or people on Android need that kind of pretty?
I'm
or
not looking at the freaking phone when I'm driving.
Not
I'm
you.
looking at the road.
Absolutely,
Who cares what it freaking
functionality.
looks like?
I mean,
People
pretty's
that
nice.
are walking. I don't know.
No, pretty's nice when you're contemplating a trip, and you're planning which way to drive to Disneyland or whatever. But in most cases, Maps is used on a mobile device, and it's done so. I'm trying to get to point A to point B. I don't want to go through construction. I don't want to go through a road that doesn't exist anymore. And
And I don't want to stare at my phone while I'm trying to do it.
It sounds to me like Maps should have some simple, separate thing that is only voice. That's it.
well,
You
didn't they
open
get
it-
rid of the navigator? Isn't that been merged into one thing now?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
That
been merged
sucks.
into Maps and then screwed up.
Yeah, I used to be able to say, okay, if I want Maps used to be, it would do a visual thing, and then it started talking to you. But then there was Navigator, which was simple and the go-to thing. I'm trying to get to 15 East Main Street, Shawnee, Georgia. Get me there as quickly as possible, and it would the woman's voice or whatever would guide you through. Now that's incorporated into Maps, and I don't even know from week to week as they update the app how to get into that, how to start it. It used to be like a quick, simple navigator thing. Now it seems more cumbersome. I've got to click, to get it going. It's
Well,
frustrating.
Maps has a lot of nice things. I mean, you can do the 2-finger drag and get kind of a 3D image of topography or whatever. You can, which is great when you're in the city walking around. You take a left here. There's going to be a giant building. Blah blah blah. That's great. But like Alan's been saying, been kind of throwing his hands up in the air about for the past couple weeks. the functionality is just so much worse.
That seems like a Google issue, functionality, but that's another story.
They'll fix it because they've got the data to fall back on. So they'll fix the UI and they'll
Oh,
realize
they'll fix it. It might take them 5 years, but they'll fix it someday.
that's a slight exaggeration, but
Only a slight exaggeration. You want to talk about things that they broke that they haven't fixed yet in 2 years on various other products?
Where does Google Maps fit into the
Hey,
ecosystem?
hey
of
Alan,
how-
talk about Blogger.
Oh no, please.
I have
God.
almost positive things to say about Blogger. Almost.
Positive.
But where does Google Maps rank as far as like? I mean, there's search and there's. All right, we can move on.
It is their number 2 product right now,
Right.
isn't it?
I would think, or YouTube, or 3 is YouTube.
2 or 3, yeah. I mean, it's well, and Gmail, and
it's
you know,
usually
like
top
Larry
5
says,
if
we've
you
got a
got Gmail.
laser-like focus on the only the most important products out there, and those are the following 20 products.
I think that's something. Isn't that like when Steve Jobs died?
What?
No, seriously.
What
That was
When he
that's a
died,
segue.
I remember like Jobs famously had a conversation with Larry. You need to focus on 6 things or 3 things. You know what I mean? And
I think you just said focus.
but he said you got to focus on just a few things and don't be like in
If
every
only
pot.
there was a search engine to find out.
And
what
so
is-
Larry went on this massive firing spree. But they still look at a new company every week to buy. I mean, it's weird.
How many companies do they have just
And
sitting
you know,
there?
that's a great segue. That is a great segue to our next story that they bought another company. Dan, why don't you tell us about this new company that they bought?
Google buys. Get ready for it. Bum 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 bum. Okay, so I don't know. This is a Nate story. I looked at it and it's a file sharing app, but then somebody else, I don't know if it was Bruce or whoever, put in the neglects NFC thing as a tagline.
I put that in. I actually put in the headline, and Nate put in the story.
Okay, so Nate, they bought Bump, and I've said that with a straight face. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
So,
Google's bumping cash with Bump.
Absolutely. So tell us exactly what is Bump and what do they do differently than other similar services, and why did Google buy them? And do you think they're buying the team and they're going to bury it?
No,
or-
they're
what's
going
the
to
deal?
bury it. Here's what okay. Well, let me back it up. Bump is a file sharing service, and it really kind of relies on your phone's. I want to say the accelerometer and the gyroscope, so you can when you bump into when you bump the phones together, instead of having to pair them by NFC, you just kind of bump fist or whatever, and it tracks your location, so it knows you're around. So if I bump phones with Alan, it's going to know that Alan and I are both using that app. We're both in the same place, so clearly we want to share information, whether that's contact information or I want to send Alan a Google Doc or whatever the case. But it doesn't use NFC, which I don't know how you guys feel. For me, NFC is always kind of fussy. The pairing of it's usually kind of fussy. So
NFC, we have to tell people what NFC stands for. NFC stands for nobody freaking cares.
Yeah, it's not like
Kind of.
like Bluetooth where when it works well, if you have a good, if you're lucky, then you can like wander into your car and all of a sudden your speakerphone thing just sort of connects and it works, just like Wi-Fi.
Oh,
is-
you want to talk about how flaky Bluetooth is? We can talk about how flaky Bluetooth is too. The fact is these technologies have a high flakiness factor to them. All of them do. The real issue is that NFC is a cool technology that the phone manufacturers are all implementing in slightly different ways, that the carriers are forcing the phones to implement in even more different ways. Google is trying to influence things themselves, and it's got a very, very limited set of uses.
It does. But let me ask you a question, Alan. You tell me what you think, because I think that what they're going to do with Bump is I think they're going to kind of bury it in place services, because Bump requires an app that the way it is now as a standalone, it requires an app that has to be running. I think what they're going to do is take the functionality, bury it in place services, so it's always there. It's always in the background running. That's how I feel about it.
Wait, what do they?
Absolutely. I think what this is going to be, and I think this is actually going to be a kind of clever thing, is that they're going to rename it as something like contactless NFC, or they're going to give it a fancier name, G Beacon or something stupid like that. And I think you're absolutely right. They're going to put it in play, and they're going to say, hey, if your phone supports NFC, we now have an easy hook directly into it. And if it doesn't, we're going to fake it using this set of fake libraries. And you, the developer, don't need to know. You can just treat it like it's all NFC.
Right.
So people will easily be able to share their contact list. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they'll
Well,
be able to. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, think of it. If I wanted to share my contact information with you, like let's say we were at a function, Michael, and we were networking.
Matthew.
And things
Michael's my third cousin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matthew.
That's all right.
Sorry about that, Mark.
So,
Matt?
Miguel, if you
That's
and I
better.
are at if we're at a function and Blues Brother, that's good, Mr. Belushi, if you and I are at a function and we want to share information, we both have staff, whatever, blah, we just bump phones. I send you, my contact information, and you get in
Right.
touch with me whenever you can. That's what it's kind of good for. Or
No, I get that. Because people don't have business cards, but no, I get that.
Oh, I'm with you 100%. I think it's a little bit of overkill.
And would you have to bump phones to do that?
Yeah.
Well, that's GHUY. Why would anyone do that?
Well, that's my point. I think they're going to buy this, bury it, and that's what they're going to try to do.
And they're burying it because they have their own technology. Is that it?
Well, they're burying it because they have their own technology that nobody is supporting. So they're now going to support an alternative way of doing the exact same thing that people won't need to build into phones. I mean, one of the things about Bump that was cool is that it didn't require anything special that your phone didn't already have. All it needed was an accelerometer and a GPS device. And using that, it was able to pair it was able to determine when two devices were trying to talk to each other.
But what about speed?
And that's pretty
wise?
cool.
Yeah, but speed, like how if I was to bump a file to you, it depends on a lot of factors. But would it take a long time?
What NFC does and what all of these technologies are doing is they're not so much involved in the data transfer itself. They're trying to do something called rendezvous services.
Okay.
They're basically saying they're basically trying to make a way that two devices can agree with each other. Yes, we want to do something, and here's how we're going to do it. So they will be talking about with NFC. If I'm putting my phone onto a pad to initiate a Google Wallet transfer, for example, it's the two of them are going to negotiate what they are going to do with very, very minimal data. If you want to transfer a file between two devices, touching the two of them together, they're going to say, okay, you want to send me a file, send it to this cloud service point, and I will download it from that cloud service point.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I have one
there-
thing to say.
There's very little data transferred between the two. It's mostly just, how do we continue the rest of the
Negotiate.
transaction? Go ahead, Bruce. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have one thing to say about Bump, and that is there a Purell dispenser close by where I can disinfect, after I bump? If I want to send somebody my contact information, it's easy for me to go in contacts and just share it with them by email or message it to them, and they can tap on it and adds it to their contacts. I don't, it's interesting that you can do this, but I don't, I'm not sure I want to Bump.
Well, the interesting thing that Alan kind of touched on too is he said, devices, and Bump has the technology to share to a desktop from a mobile device. So I'm wondering if this is going to somehow make its way into Chrome and Android.
The big question for me really is, part of this seems like it is an attempt, and in my mind a probably desperate attempt, to address iBeacon, which is now coming out on the iPhone.
Absolutely.
And honestly, I don't see how it's going to do that, because it's not there. iBeacon is doing some very, very cool and clever things that NFC does better in some ways, and maybe the location services will do well. Will really pull off. So I don't quite see how this rounds out their iBeacon challenge system.
Okay, so we've gone full circle. All right, next up, I swear to God, I can't pronounce the Chinese company's name. Nate, I'm going to need your help on
Xiaomi.
this. What is it?
Xiaomi.
Huh?
Oh, I'll show you. All right.
Xiaomi.
It's spelled with an
Xiaomi.
X though because it's
Okay,
Chinese.
so Hugo Berra discussed his move to Xiaomi, and why he left Google, and there was a lot of drama stuff, but in the rumor mill on this.
But he says this has been in works for over a year. That this is not a sudden thing.
Is it? Do you think they knew it because he was front and center at I/O?
He says he involved Google with the talks, very early on. He wanted to be very transparent about the whole thing. So I think everybody knew, and he said in there he wanted to wait until the new Nexus 7 and KitKat had finished rolling out, or being announced or whatever, and then he was going to announce that he was leaving. I think that he was, professional throughout the whole thing. He involved everybody, and obviously Xiaomi is started and run by an ex-Googler, so they know him pretty well. And Xiaomi, honestly, while we don't see it in the United States, they probably do a better job of anybody right now.
I mean, it says in the article, I quote, "If I do my job right, in a few years, the world will be talking about Xiaomi the same way you talk about Google and Apple today." Is that
Right.
overstating?
No, that's not overstating. And, a big part of what Hugo's trying to do is, bring Xiaomi to the forefront on a worldwide stage. And if you look at what they just announced, the MI3, those are top of the line specs. I mean, it's, Snapdragon 800, 2 gigs, all this good stuff. The price, and this is your out the door price, is $329 US.
Yeah, do a quick description of this company and their products. I mean, what is Xiaomi? Is it? It's very innovative products at great prices. They're they're a big player in the Chinese market, right? Which is 1.3 billion people, so it's no joke.
Well, the Chinese market is really set to kind of go boom. I mean, they're getting ready to just massively explode. The Chinese are very particular about having the nicest phone they can at the best price they can. Xiaomi delivers that for the Chinese market. They, for all intents and purposes, in a lot of ways, in terms of Android in China, they are. And I mean, they're basically, Samsung to the U.S. They are the Android market in China.
How is this going to be? How? What's the right way to put this? How is this the battle against the iPhone 5C?
How do you mean?
I mean, the conventional wisdom is that the iPhone 5C exists solely to be the big player in the China market. I mean, it's got a reason to exist here, but the reason why it was made, every detail about it, is to appeal in the China market.
Well, yeah, and let's extrapolate that a little bit. When Apple announced the 5C, they immediately said, well, the 5 has been discontinued. And part of that is they want their numbers to reflect what they consider a mid-range phone, and they want the sales number to reflect that they have a very popular, very well-received mid-range phone, because people will buy this. In terms of, it being centered towards the Chinese market or emerging markets, if you look at just the color scheme, and I posted this on Google Plus a few days ago, they copied the Xiaomi, I think the Mi2 had this breadth colors, and they copied it almost verbatim. The same colors. I mean, obviously they have different hues and things like that, but they pretty much copied Xiaomi. Is it geared towards the Chinese market? I think it is. I think that this is Apple's attempt at being a little more cost effective. I think what they're seeing is, while Apple's really popular in China and these kind of countries with these markets that are set to just go boom, I think they're also getting a little bit of blowback from people that want a cheaper option and are going for cheaper phones. If you look at the Mi3, the specs are world beaters. I mean, the specs are incredible.
Does
and they're gonna offer
Xiaomi
that
have their own system, like their own software that they run on, or?
Well, they run on Android.
Oh, they do. Okay.
I believe it's. I'll pretty much guarantee it's skinned slightly, but I don't think it has a heavy skin like TouchWiz for Samsung does.
So if it runs on Android and they're getting the X head of Android, they can definitely improve.
Yeah,
their software.
they've got big people in their corner. I mean, you basically took the face of Android and you're gonna have him work for you. I mean, that's
So
huge
it's
right
possible. It's possible that Xiaomi's version of Android will be better than any other version of Android.
Yeah, I mean, while Hugo Barr is definitely the face of Android and is basically something one that Android fans trust, I think he's also going to give a ton of valuable insight. He's been there kind of from the jump. I mean, he's been there quite a while, especially when Android starts maturing. He's worked with Matthias a lot. So I think he's got a lot of valuable insight that he can give them in terms of, this is how you do Android right, in terms of, aesthetics and all these other kinds of things. Obviously, they'll have their own take on it, but I think there's going to come a point where they probably do it better than just about anybody.
And Google will still make money because Google must have some kind of deal with them as far as using the software, right?
Well, Android's free to use, but if it locks into the Play Store, then there you go.
Yeah.
That's that's where they always make their money with Android.
Unless they had a Xiaomi store.
Okay, so we're about to go to our recommended Android apps of the week, but there's a story that just came out last half hour or so ago, and it's shared by Walt Mossberg. Google moving on as Nexus 4 sells out in the U.S. And looking at this story here, let me share my screen. Let me see how to do this. All right, so Google has run out of stock of its LG-built Nexus 4 less than a month after cutting price by a third. "Quote unquote, we're out of inventory. Please check back soon," says the Google Play Store. And sources say that Google has no plans to replenish supplies of the device. Now, this is the phone that I think, Nate, you use, and I think, Alan, you use.
It's a good thing we didn't talk about this subject at all on the show.
So,
yeah, I use it, and this is no surprise. They sold out. They're not bringing it back, and let's all start paying attention to the Nexus 5.
are you excited about the bigger screen space in the way that Bruce and I are about our Note 2s?
If it's got that camera that we keep seeing on there, then no, I'm not excited. That thing's hideous.
What do you think, Alan?
I think we covered this 2 weeks ago.
Whatever happened to Google stores? Is that something they were just toying with, or that's actually going to happen? And when they have Google stores, if they ever do, will they run out of stock in 2 seconds?
We covered that 2 weeks ago, too.
Yay!
Alan is especially grouchy tonight.
I'm not especially grouchy tonight.
Any new Google Glass updates? Right?
Alan, do you have a recommended app that you'd
No.
like to share with us?
How's the Field Trip app doing?
The Field Trip app on Glass is actually one of the best Glass apps I've seen. It's
Because
really
on my
good.
phone, it's not. It shares the
it sucks,
same
yeah.
thing over and over again. I live in a historic Civil War town, and every time I drive by somewhere, it's gotten better lately. I actually took it off my phone because it would share the exact same thing over and over again. When you're
But Alan's
driving
gonna
to
tell us
work,
why it's so amazing on Glass, though.
I don't need to be reminded every day when I'm going to work or the office that I'm passing by some historic site. I know. I mean, I live here, right?
Bruce, what's your recommended app of the week?
Well, as you may or may not be aware, I'm a guitar player, so I have my nice Taylor PG Limited guitar here. And, guitars, if they're not in
Studio
tune,
mode? Studio mode?
they really sound terrible. So my app of the week is called, Dan, don't laugh, it's called G-String. It's a free tuner app. And so I'm gonna
I failed to follow instructions there. I apologize.
I'm tuning up my guitar. And I know Dan has perfect pitch,
Ouch.
So I have a chromatic tuner that I use. I hook it up in the sound system when I'm playing in the band, and I can just step on it with my foot and tune the guitar. But it's nice to have a tuner everywhere you go, right? And it makes a difference when you tune it. So you got.
Oh yeah.
Sweet home front royal. So my app is G Strings, no pun intended. There are a lot of free guitar tuning apps, and if you're a guitar player, you need to have a tuner with you because you never know when you're going to need it.
Keep your
And-
G-string.
And
you never
well,
know when you're going to need a G string. I mean,
well, when Dan is, it's been interesting to see you talking because Dan is a C sharp, and Nate is an A2, and Alan, oh man, he's a F minor. Okay, so when you guys talk, you register on my tuner the whole time. It's been running during the whole show. It's been interesting to watch.
I'm a C sharp.
Alan's
play-
more of an
can you
You're
play a
more
C
of the
sharp?
C-sharps.
Alan's more of an F bomb than an F bomb.
Oh!
That's
Not
my
yet.
app for the week.
What's a
I don't
C
know.
sharp? You got to play a C sharp, so I know.
Dan, what's your app of the week?
I sadly do not have an app of the week because
I don't know.
Fine. Matthew, what is your
I have to
favorite
look.
app of the week?
It's not Candy Crush. I'm just kidding.
do you have an Android app you've been using lately on the can with your Nexus 7 that you want to share?
You know
with
what's actually what's interesting is I just joined now. Don't laugh, but Snapchat. I joined Snapchat beta, and Snapchat has a Google Plus community that you have to join the beta. So that was interesting. I don't love Snapchat, but a lot of people are using it. I hate the fact that it's a 10-second message because I usually see like none of it and it goes away.
For all your
but-
teen sexting needs, Snapchat
For all my
is
teen
there.
sexting needs. But I think there's good potential for it. I just think that needs a lot of adult help. But I don't know. Do you have a Android app that you would recommend for me? Because I use the basic ones. Ones
For
that I use
teen
on iOS.
sexting or for
No, just in
sharing
general.
photos?
Sharing photos.
Nate Swanner, what's your app of the week?
My app of the week is not even an Android app. My app of the week is a Chrome app because I'm bored of Android apps. I found an app called Tab Packager, and it's pretty cool. What it does is it takes all the tabs that you have open, and you can kind of create your own little link for them. And so if you're doing research, or if you're just kind of a troll who wants to let everybody know how much you know about something and how many websites you've visited about a certain topic, you can kind of bunch them all up, and it creates a little tab, and you can just send that to anybody, and when they click on it, it'll open all the tabs that you've sent them. Pretty cool.
That's neat.
I would say for Chrome, for me, I would say, I don't know what it's called, and maybe you guys have talked about this ad nauseum, or in the past I mentioned it. If you have more than one Google Plus page, you have a bunch, you definitely need the Google Plus Pages Chrome extension app because it will open all your notifications for all your Google Plus pages at the top. You need to use it. I don't know what it's called, but it's in the Chrome store.
Now, Nate, will that tab app answer the age-old question, where is the noise coming from? If you have 30 tabs open and you're like, all of a sudden, like noise is playing and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, it will not.
Chrome should do that. They should have like a little audio thing to
I
indicate.
believe they do, actually.
I'm sure it's an extension you can get.
No, I think they actually did build it in at some point for exactly that reason.
Oh,
Or at least
cool.
I thought it was built in. I remember reading about it at one point.
All right, we want to thank our special guest, Matthew
Thank
Rappaport.
you. Thanks for having me.
It was great having you, sir. Matthew Rappaport, you can catch him at google.com/Matthew
Plus.
Rappaport with a T at the end.
I have a couple of teas.
Absolutely. If you don't put the T in there, he gets mad.
And so is Google.
Absolutely. We also want to thank our regular panelists, and this was fun. We'll be back, I guess, next week. Google's ended their assault on our show, and they're going to do scheduled YouTube maintenance on Tuesday to screw the Tuesday shows instead of the Monday shows. So that's cool. Craig Ship's happy as well. We're here Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Google Plus Week, our flagship program, the longest running show in many ways, is at every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We want to thank you all so very much for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate it. And we will catch you next time. And in the meantime, have a wonderful Android week.